Hello and welcome. My name's Campbell, and today I wanted to get into the topic of the mud flood. And you may have heard of the mud flood recently. It has been taking off around YouTube and other platforms because what has happened is we've been looking into architecture around the world and we've found a phenomenon that we've termed the mud flood. And this phenomena shows us buildings and structures around the world that seem to be flooded with mud, shall we say. They are buried or half buried. And these are not just ancient structures that we're talking about. In fact, the buildings that this mud flood was first discovered at were modern buildings, or what we're told are more modern buildings. They're not the ancient ruins, although we do find the mud flood phenomenon around them as well. But what we're really looking at is old buildings in cities. You know, the kind, they have pillars, domes, big architraves and doorways, very grand old buildings, always used for parliament buildings, schools, colleges, jails, all this kind of stuff, always government buildings, and they always seem to be too low for the ground, shall we say. So let's jump in and have a look at some of the evidence, shall we? Another feature you'll start to notice is, like I said before, all these buildings are actually brick, and most of them are red brick buildings. But yeah, windows, look at this, straight into the ground. So all they've done is put a bit of cement here up on an angle so that the water can't run in. But you know, clearly not a good design. Again, stairs up, windows into the ground. This is an older building, I believe this is Melbourne, and just same thing, we see it everywhere. Windows down, stairs up, and this is a horse and cart. So this is back in the 1800s, early 1900s maybe. Now this is New York City. You know, we've got the traditional New York apartments. Now look at all these architraves on the top of all these windows. Over here as well. Very old world, all brick. And what do we have here but stairways going down to lower levels and windows going into the ground. And you often see them like this where they cover them up with grates and they try and tell you their basements and things, but the story really doesn't match up, because as we got into this and we started looking for mud flood buildings, we started finding pictures like this. Now this is London, this is Liverpool, and as you can see, look at the amount of dirt we got here built up. Look at the size of this is the bottom of the building with the foundation here, but it looks like it's still going down, and they're clearing all this mud out. So where did all this mud come from? So you can see this is the ground level, and look how much further down they are. We've got, what's that, 8 meters or so. This one from Russia. Look at all these windows. They're everywhere, just the whole way along. And like I said, always in symmetry, always underneath the ones above them. And this, they're doing, it looks like it's been damaged. They're doing a bit of renovation work. And this is where we find a lot of these structures. When they do renovations, this shot, this is a house, this is ground level. Now they've, I'm not sure what happened here, if it was renovated at some stage, but you can see underneath, all red brick, and a big window under the ground, stairs going up, and so there would be another level under there, and this is way below ground level. So there's interesting stuff everywhere. This, I think it's Moscow, but again, they're doing excavation work, and what do they find? Big red brick structures, archways. So I'm not sure what that is. Maybe it's an old bridge or something. Probably not with this big hunk of brick there. But these are all under the ground, and they're just being found. This is under a school gym. Okay, they started doing a bit of renovations on the floor, and look what they found. Red brick, windows under the, like completely under the ground, under the floor of a school gym. It looks like they've tried to cover it all up with sandstone or something at some point. But this is a whole big structure. This is a complete structure. And they've just built this gym on the top of the foundations, or this is a mud flooded building. Okay, and so this is the floor they're using as their ground level, and this is what's really underneath. Again, these are the good ones. This has glass in it. Glass window pane. Look at this, still in there. This one here, they've bricked up. You can see they've bricked it up from the inside, but they've just left the glass window in the front, still sitting there. Here as well. So this is the outside, by the looks of it, of a building, completely underground. And by the look of these buildings, these look, fairly old world. So, it's probably these, this whole area probably has underground levels. And of course, we're learning about underground levels at the moment, aren't we? With what's going on in the world. This is another one where they've done excavation. You can see the digger scrapes here, uncovered red brick, windows bricked up from the inside, and again here, window pane just buried under the ground in this mud. This is a church called St. Mary's, and it's in the USA, and you can see this is what it used to look like. This was the ground level, and you can see over here we have the star window, the stained glass window, and it's a bit hard to see, but underneath here there's a doorway, the top of a doorway, and the windows here. And of course, what happened, but they did some excavations. Here's that rose window, they call them, and look at this massive doorway underneath. And of course, this was the level, so we just saw the top of it, but the level of the ground was along there. And they uncovered the original doorway, windows, and a whole nother level. And this picture here is fairly famous in mud flood tartaria circles. This is Mississippi in the late 1800s. And as you can see, this may be a clue as to what we're looking at. I mean, for starters, this is just covered in rubble. Look, these are all squared off, right-angled blocks, so they're bricks, right? These have been made for building. They're not natural. They've got right angles on them. And look, just rubble everywhere, and they've just sort of cleaned a road down here. But these are all just mounds of rubble. And as you can see, the rubble's come from all these buildings. So what has happened here? Something has been, there's been some kind of explosion, war, something big went on here. It may have been natural, we don't know. But as you can imagine, you can see all this destruction and things half buried. They may have just come along and just, basically graded this all and leveled it all out to get rid of all the crap. And when they do that, they end up raising the level. That may be what we're looking at least in some places. But what we know is there was a lot of destruction in the 1800s. Because what we find when we look into all this, these old world pictures, is the old world, the history, the story they tell us is just not true. It doesn't match up at all. And even in this picture, you can see this is a drawing from 1836. We've got 2 columns and the rest are all knocked over. But they go along and they rebuild them. And we see this a lot. They rebuild these old structures and put them up and then term them as, historical sites, so no one can go and dig around anymore. What's really going on? And how did we get here? Because, of course, at the moment, what we're seeing is it's becoming very obvious that everything we're being told is a lie. And it's not his story that we need to worry about, it's our story that we need to focus on. Because the more we dig into it, the more we find that the story they give us just does not fit. So thank you for spending some time with me, and I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.